Welcome into another edition of Inside Southeastern Sports. I'm Jay Lindley. Now time to talk women's basketball with the head coach of the Savage Storm, Coach Darren Grover. Another successful week. You get the win over rival East Central. First, a little bit about that game. The place was really rocking, Bloomer Sullivan Arena. I thought the crowd support was just outstanding. You got two men's and women's teams right now that are really firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it was really set up to have a good crowd. You're, first week back with students, it's ECU, and I think we have two. You mentioned the men are having a great season, and I feel like that we are too.
You go into that game, you hold them to 10 points in the first half. It was really, though, a really weird game as far as that goes. Your bench really did it for you in the first half, scored the first 27 points of that game. Have you ever been a part of one like that where the bench took control offensively so early?
I don't think, I think that question was asked me that night. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever recalled anyone ever saying something like that. I think that's a hallmark of what our team is continue to get better at, is our bench coming in and playing well, and we have to have them do that. It's no secret that they were going to take Katie Webb and Cameron Cantwell out of it. All week for practice, we talked to them about that. Hey, they're going to take you guys out if they're going to pack it in. They're going to take away driving lanes. And we put our bench in positions during our practices where they had to knock down pressure shots, and luckily during the game they knocked those down.
Of course, with that effort even continued on into Saturday's play. And we'll touch on the game as a whole, but staying on the bench, Tracy Johnson certainly has come on of late, shooting the basketball, 12 of her last 20 in the new year from beyond the arc. I know that was a bit of concern of you at the midway point, having threes fall. That's something that you've always been able to rely upon. Didn't really have that the first part of this season. Not only has she really come alive, Riley Moon's come alive, just those shots finally falling from beyond the arc, that's got to be a little bit of a godsend to you. Well,
you mentioned the first semester. We're kind of known as a three-point shooting team, and we were shooting 30 or below from three. For us, that's not very good. Whenever you've got people like Cam and Katie, where they're driving to the basket a lot, sucking the defense in, you're going to get some open threes, and that's what we got at the first semester. We're getting it the second semester. Those kids have to knock those shots down. You mentioned Tracy, you mentioned Briley, Katie Branham has done better during this semester, Neely Knoll. So we need those kids. They're going to get open looks. They are, and that's when you have great players, especially great drivers on your team, you're going to get open looks. You have to knock those things down.
Not necessarily to put you on the spot, but to me that's the definition of a good team, or maybe even perhaps a great team. Whenever you're 1 and 2, don't necessarily get it done, but you've got other players that you can count on to knock down shots. Would you be comfortable with that definition?
Well, I hate to use this analogy, and of course a lot of people even watching this they never didn't even see this, but when Michael J. Jordan was playing for the Bulls, he had to have Paxson and Kerr come in and knock down those shots. And I hate using that analogy because those were just fabulous teams. But for us to be a great team and to challenge for a conference championship, we have to have those kids come in and do those things.
Of course, skipping ahead to Saturday's game, Southwestern Oklahoma State, they were here earlier this year, ended what was a 23-game regular season conference win streak. Then you go out to Weatherford, a place that you haven't had a lot of success at, certainly not the new building that's out there, having lost 8 straight in Weatherford. You end their 38-game home win streak, which was the 3rd longest in the nation. A nice staple win for the program, and a nice way to end the weekend, I would think.
Yeah, I've never won in that building. It's the first time I drove away from that building a winner. We've won in Rankin, which is their old facility. But yeah, I felt like well, to be real honest, we talked about it on the air. I don't think we played all that well. We turned the ball over too much and we missed layups. But I felt like defensively we played really well. And then we once again had kids come in and knock down shots. And so whenever you're doing that, you have Cameron. I don't think it's any secret. You can look at a stat line. Cameron didn't have one of her better games. Katie kind of got some foul shots to fall at the end, but same thing. I don't think that she was really on her game early on. But we had some other kids come in, and Riley Moon specifically was just unreal. I mean, she was 6 of 6 from the three-point line. Actually, the only shot she missed was a free throw. She was just all phases of the game. I thought she was on task, and we needed every bit of it. Didn't handle their press very well, but that's what they're known for, is to try to hurry you up and kind of try to make the game ugly. I thought they did a good job of that, obviously because we did turn it over quite a bit. But to go in there, you know, break that streak is great for our program. Mainly, you know, that streak is alive not because necessarily it's such a tough place to play, just because they're good. And when you have a great team like that, it's going to be hard to beat them on their home floor.
Whenever you talk a little bit about, you know, the turnovers, the one thing that really stood out to me was how quickly you guys got back and still forced it into a half-court game, eliminated a lot of transition baskets off of turnovers. How much importance did you put on that in game planning going into that game?
Oh, we talk about it all the time, but you know, we talk off the air a lot about analytics, and we break after the game, every single game, we break it down into phases of the game. Well, transition is one of the phases of the game. Southwestern has been known to push the ball, especially off turnovers. Well, during that course of that game, and what we define as a transition possession, there was only 5 possessions for them in transition. So they scored 5 points. They had 5 possessions, they scored 5 points. Well, it's not so much about the 5 points, it's more about, like what you said, limiting the amount of transition possessions that they had. I think that's key. The good thing was when we did turn it over, we were able to get back. Now, part of that was because some of the turnovers were held balls situations, but nevertheless, we turned it over too many times. But our kids did get back and protected the basket, which I think is key with Southwestern. Of
course, a pair of explosive runs, including that one to start the fourth that was a 13-0 run, pretty much sealed the deal for you guys. In looking back at those particular runs, the run to start the third and the run to start the fourth, how much would you say those 2 runs determined the outcome of the game?
Well, I hate to be too, I don't know, you know, basketball is a game of runs, and everybody says that, but I think Briley coming in during those times and knocking down threes. I think she came down a couple, like 2 out of 3 possessions and hit open threes. One of them actually was off of dribble. So I think she was key in that situation. Chandler Kemp was big for us, breaking their press. The way that they play, they're going to give you opportunities. They're going to give you open threes. They're going to give you open layups if you don't turn it over. And I thought that when we did that, when we did break their pressure, we did a good job of finding those open people. I think the next time that we do face them, whenever that might be, we just have to do a better job of breaking their press early.
Again, talking with Coach Darren Grover. Coming up, more women's basketball or a player spotlight on Briley Moon. It's next on Inside Southeastern Sports. Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Sports. Continuing on in women's basketball, it's time for our player spotlight on Briley Moon, the sophomore from Martins Mill. How are you doing today, Briley?
I'm good.
So, had a really big week. You've had a really big new year. And Coach Grover, as soon as you agreed to come to Southeastern Oklahoma State, one of the things he first pointed out is she's a tremendous shooter. You are, by definition, a pure shooter. When did you realize that was a skill that you had?
Probably my junior year in high school. In high school, I went to the gym a lot and shot off the gun multiple nights. So I think I started to gain more confidence as I got older in high school.
How many shots a practice would you say you were shooting back then?
Maybe 500, 600.
Really? Do you still kind of keep that level up, or?
I get in there and shoot off the gun, but just when I'm feeling my shot, really.
So you have been certainly feeling it of late. This past week, go 6 of 6 from beyond the arc. 12 of your last 16 now from downtown, by the way. What's different about where you are right now versus that first half of the year?
I think more confidence, just getting here and getting up more shots. And also it helps when Katie and Cam relentlessly drive and leave shooters open, kick it, so I'm more open.
Of course, last year you were Great American Conference Freshman of the Year. Katie Webb, Cameron Cantwell, they both went down with injury. We've talked with them on camera about, you know, what they were able to learn by not being on the floor. For you were a freshman. You were supposed to come in, kind of just come off of the bench. Now all of a sudden the whole focal point of the offense at one point last season was on you. What did you take from that experience? I know it was a tough one, but you guys still got into the conference tournament. What did you, though, take for your individual game?
That was tough just because, like, Cam and Katie are both leaders on the team, and so when they went off the court, I had to be more vocal, and that was something I struggled with as when I first came in my freshman year. So just, you know, trying to be more vocal, get my teammates fired up. So.
Were you a little bit surprised when you were named Freshman of the Year last year at the conference awards?
I knew it was between, credit to Cam, she got hurt, but yeah, I guess I was surprised, but I kind of knew it a little bit.
Kind of had a good feeling about the way things had played out. This year, you guys were picked to finish in the middle of the pack in the conference, but are out to this outstanding start. What is it that makes this team so good? You've obviously played on really good teams. You've made it to the state tournament every year in high school, so you've been a winner this whole time. What is it that's making this team so good right now? I
think it's hard to stop Katie and Cam, so when they drive, it leaves shooters open. And I think me, Neely, Tracy, KB, Hayden, all of us have been knocking down shots when we get past the ball. So I think that's crucial in how we're playing. You have a great support group at the games. Your family doesn't miss anything. I know your grandfather, I've talked with him on a few occasions. You come from a family of pharmacists, but I understand that's not what your career goal is. No, listen to them talk all the time. I don't think I would really want to do that, but I want to be a physical therapist. So they're very supportive about that, given the fact that everyone in your family is a pharmacist? Yeah, they're all right with it. What made you interested in physical therapy? I kind of want to stay around sports, not necessarily, might not be a coach, but just stay around the atmosphere. Where would you like to do that, like at a collegiate level, or would you like to go back to a smaller area, like the high school scene? I might go back home somewhere near there. Martins Mill is a smaller area. Do you like that small town atmosphere? Yes, I do. That's one of the reasons why I kind of like Durant, because it's kind of home feeling like Martins Mill. Again, talking with Briley Moon, standout sophomore on Inside Southeastern Sports. Coming up, we talk men's basketball with Coach Kelly Green next on Inside Southeastern Sports. Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Sports. I'm Jay Lindley. Time to talk men's college basketball. Head coach Kelly Green. Coach, this past week, big rival win, nice crowd at Bloomer Sullivan Arena to take on East Central. You guys, I thought, maybe the best defensive effort certainly this season, and maybe perhaps even the best I've seen in a while. You guys really did a great job of just team defense against East Central. What was it that allowed that to happen? I've just never seen that type of defense from you guys.
Well, they miss shots. So anytime the other team misses shots, it makes your defense look pretty good. But we did a good job of getting off into help and making most of their shots contested. Obviously not all of them, but most of their shots contested. And we've had some moments throughout the year where we've played good defense to start games and all, but just for a collective, I don't want to say we did it for 40 minutes, but it's the longest we have sustained playing team defense. And we were good. I mean, matter of fact, I told Jay afterwards, I said, Jay Havens from East Central, I just said, Jay, we were pretty good today. But then that happens because you don't really know what to say to the other coach sometimes, but sometimes it's like, man, this was kind of our night. He's had plenty of those times to say that to us. So
you flip the script, you go on the road to Southwestern Oklahoma State on Saturday, a game that you guys controlled, but on the scoreboard, 1-point victory. That one, I know you were talking, you just wanted to get out of there without the officials deciding there needed to be another second on the clock. That was one of those type of games, I thought, going into that facility, a bit of a trap game. Did you look at it that way from that perspective?
Well, I don't know. We try to talk about the biggest game of the year is the next game you're playing. In that particular case, that game was the biggest game of the year for us. It wasn't Thursday's game. It's not next Thursday's or 2 weeks from Thursday or whatever. The next game you play is the biggest game of the year. And, we try not to get too high, try not to get too low after games. But the key word in there is we try not to do those things. Obviously, the guys had an emotional game on Thursday, playing East Central here at home, having a good crowd, playing well, and winning that one. And we had played Southwestern, but it was quite some time ago. They played without their point guard the first game, so we knew that was going to be a factor with them. And teams play better at home.
Well, and one of the things that kind of stood out, Kevin Buckingham, of course, returning starter, All-American, not really having his best shooting days the last 2 games out, but Adam Dorsky, huge stat line for him in the win over East Central, and then Kellen Manick on Saturday a new season high with 22 points. Does it give you as a coach confidence to see other guys knocking down shots, knowing that if your star player isn't having the best, that you've got guys you can count on to kind of come through?
Well, what it shows is we're not a one-man team by no stretch of the imagination. We are a collective group on our team, and our collective group is there's 12 guys in uniform, and we feel confident that we've got different guys that maybe for whatever reason are not getting the opportunities, but when their opportunity does come, they can step in and help. This particular game, Adam had really a good weekend, and but Kellen has been playing better as of late, and really had an excellent shooting game and just an all-around really good floor game. Rebounded the ball, defended. Very proud of him for the way he's been playing, but in particular Saturday played 40 minutes, which is not a common thing with us doing with Kellen.
Well, and in regards to Kellen, I mean, his defense has really been solid all season long. I know you've lauded about it in post games numerous times, but to see him finally start knocking down some shots, because I know that's been a concern of his own, I would assume that he was pretty joyous after the game just to have a few of those finally go in for him. He's had some looks.
Well, I think so, and part of the fact is confidence. And players lose confidence. Coaches need to give players confidence back, and sometimes we don't do as good a job of that as we need to do. But Kellen's a good shooter, and good shooters are gonna go through down times, but good shooters are going to come back and be good shooters as long as they continue to take good shots.
Of course, in referring to that last game, the game against Southwestern, all 5 players scored double figures, including the gentleman we'll talk to in a minute, and Torrey Everett. Just talk a little bit about Torrey, what he means to this team, having redshirted a year ago. He's been a focal point, offense and defense, all year long.
Well, he has, and very proud of Torrey for how he's come back this year. He went through a whole practice year this past season and got to sit on the outside and watch and learn some things. But he's come back. He's accepted what he can do. He's really working to do the things that we need him to do, which is score the ball, which is defend the other team's point guard a lot of times, to kind of start us off defensively. He gives us a little toughness at the guard spot, a little more physicalness there. So he's really. It's not like we brought in a totally new player to go with the other 4 guys. We brought in a guy who's been here for the last 2 years, but just not. He hadn't gotten into the rotation with them this past year like he is now. And he's got a very good mid-range game. He's a very capable 3-point shooter, and has accepted the things that we need him to do, and really ran with it.
Of course, again, talking with Coach Kelly Green, and on the way it is our men's basketball player spotlight with Torrey Everett. It's next on Inside Southeastern Sports. Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Sports. Time now for our men's basketball player spotlight, shining on Torrey Everett. Mr. Everett, welcome to the program.
Nice to be here.
So last season, a little bit different. You didn't really battle injury a year ago. You were just redshirted. Talk a little bit about that. How much did you learn from the bench versus being on the floor? Did you learn a lot as a player?
Yeah, you just sitting there watching everybody play. You still practicing when you're not redshirting, so you see all the schemes and stuff, and just how to go out there and game plan them and put them into game action, live action. So you just get a different perspective from being inside the game.
Did it kind of add a little fuel to your fire, having redshirted and then the team last year having the success it did? Did it kind of make you a little hungry to get back out there this year?
Yeah, I'm all about winning. I like winning, and we won a lot last year, and I just wanted to come in and do whatever I could to keep that going. So,
seeing that success a little bit and seeing it from the sidelines, do you think that it was good from maybe your standpoint to see some of those other guys have a little bit of success, and what you felt a little more comfortable in your own game?
Yeah, I think it's important for teammate success. However you can contribute to it, I think that's important. So to have a team of what we're trying to do, I think for you having that support from your teammates makes a big difference.
What's been the biggest difference for you from your start to where you are now, your senior year? I mean, obviously, you guys have had a lot more success recently, but what's been the biggest change with this team from your freshman year to now your redshirt senior year?
Just my mind. I feel like my mind's sharper. I'm more mentally tough. Just attitude, disposition, everything. I feel like it's gotten way better from my first year being here to now. So I just think that's probably one of the biggest things.
Now you're majoring in communications. What about that degree? What drew you to that particular field, and what do you see yourself doing with it?
I like communicating. I can communicate with a lot of different people, I feel like, and you know, just different fields that communication have. I feel like it's a broad field, so whatever I wanted to do within that, I feel like that was a good thing for me.
Do you plan on maybe using that to stay around sports, or do you see other business opportunities out there?
Yeah, I'm a big sports guy, so I'll probably try to stick to that.
Now, I know earlier this year we had you on right before Dallas and the Patriots played. I know Coach Green's a big Patriots fan. They lucked out in that one. Yeah. Was there any trash talk the following day when you got into the building when you got into Bloomer Sullivan Arena on Monday?
Nah, no trash talk. He let me have it. You know, I'm a Patriot. I mean, I'm a Cowboys guy. He's a Patriots guy, so they're historically better. So he just let me have it, I guess.
Did you play football growing up?
I did.
How long did you play? Did you play all through high school, or did you have a stopping point where you focused?
I played in middle school. Played in middle school.
What'd you play? Offense, defense?
I played both, actually. You know, in middle school, they don't really, it's not that big of a deal with the positions. But I played, what did I play? I played running back, wide receiver, a little bit of trickery quarterback, played linebacker, defensive back.
Talk a little bit about, you know, trickery at quarterback. You guys have that type of point guard in Adam Dworsky. Right. Are you ever amazed on the court at some of the stuff he does?
Amazed? Nah, I see him do it every day. I see him do it every day.
You've been spoiled to it.
Yeah, he put in the work, so you know you're gonna see it. It'll eventually pay off. So.
Again, talking with Tori Everett, our player spotlight for this week. Tori, thanks for taking the time to join us, and good luck on the remainder of the season.
Thank you.
And of course, coming up, you can keep up with all of Southeastern sports by going to GoSoutheastern.com. Till next week, I'm Jay Lindley. So long, everyone.